Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing Physics Paper 2, Multiple Choice, Extended. This is the October-November 2022. It is the variant 1, which is the 2-1 version. I'm trying out other variants as well for the sake of you guys. Okay, before we start, we must take the weight of 1 kilogram to be 9.8 because from the 2023 syllabus, they are going to let you take 9.8 for 1 kilogram, 9.8 newtons for 1 kilogram, and so the g or the acceleration of free fall is also being changed to 9.8. And those are the newest changes in the syllabus. Now, question number 1. Which measuring instrument is used to measure the diameter of a thin metal wire? To measure a thin wire, we have to use something that is very small, and therefore a micrometer screw gauge is something that works best. Question number 2. A car starts from rest. The table shows the reading from the speedometer every 10 seconds. Which row describes the car motion in the first 30 seconds and in the last 30 seconds? So in the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds. Okay. So in the first 30 seconds, you can know that there is no acceleration whatsoever. And there is an acceleration, because 0, 4, 8, 12, the speed is changing. In this case, it is increasing by 4, 4, 4, and therefore there is an acceleration. So therefore, it's going to be a non-zero acceleration. And during the last 30 seconds, however, you can see that it is 12, 12, 12. The speed stays constant, it does not change. That means there is no acceleration taking place, and therefore it is at constant speed, and therefore D is the correct answer. Question number 3. Which property of an object is a consequence of the effect of gravitational field acting on it? Well, this has got to be weight, because remember, weight is equal to mass times gravitational field strength. And this gravitational field strength acts on the object mass, and that's why we got this new thing called weight. Okay, question number 4. The diagram shows the dimensions of a solid rectangular block of a metal mass m. Which expression is used to calculate the density of the metal? Well, this is very easy. So density is equal to mass over volume. You could also remember it by the acronym drunk man vomit. You could also use that acronym, but to make it easier, I would use the formula. Okay, so the mass here, it is given m, represented as m, and for the volume, they haven't given us the volume. However, they have given us the sites to calculate the volume. And remember, volume in a cuboid is basically length times width times height, and therefore we're going to times p times q times r in brackets, and therefore this is going to be, B is going to be its correct answer. Question number 5. A wheelbarrow has a weight of 140 newtons. Which vertical force is needed to support the wheelbarrow in the position shown? Okay, it's going to be, remember, we have to use the moments, the principle of moments. The principle of moments, this is basically what is trying to tell you is the sum or the total anti-clockwise moment has to equal to the total or the sum of the clockwise moment, and this is very important. Now we have to figure out W, the W weight. Now firstly we have to figure out the pivot. So the pivot here is in case the wheel, here is the pivot, and because the W is going in this way, this is a clockwise direction. This is the clockwise moment. For F, however, it is going in the other direction, therefore this is the anti-clockwise moment. And in the anti-clockwise moment, it is going to, the anti-clockwise moment and the clockwise moment has to be equal for it to be at equilibrium. And so here we can just calculate it using this. Okay, so 140. 140 is the weight of the mass, and moment, remember, moment is force times perpendicular distance, and the force of weight W is 140 newtons, and this is going to times by 0.6 because it is the distance from the pivot is 0.6 meters. And then we're going to equal it to the anti-clockwise moment, which is 1.4 times f. We don't know f, we want to find f, so we're just going to rearrange the equation as follows, and then the f is going to give us 60 newtons, and therefore A is the correct answer. Question number 6. A car is traveling around a circular track at constant speed. In which direction is the resultant force on the car? The resultant force when traveling, this is called circular motion, and this is something that you guys have to learn. And in circular motion, remember the resulting force is always acting inwards. And therefore it's going to be P, and it's acting, the force that is acting on the car is actually called the centripetal force. And in this case, the friction between the car wheels and the road surface is actually providing the centripetal force, and therefore B is the correct answer. Question number 7. The diagram shows a part of a hose used by a firefighter. 15 grams of water flow through the hose each second. Which force is applied to the hose by the water? Okay, so the water is moving at 1 meters per second. Water is moving at 6 meters per second. We want to find the force. Okay, to find this question, we have to use the formula F is equal to mv minus mu over t to find the force. Okay, so the force here is 15 grams, which is the mass, and then the final speed is 6 meters per second. The initial speed is 1 meter per second. So 15 times 6 minus 15 times 1, and it says each second, so the time is 1. And therefore F is going to give us 75 newtons. Therefore B is the correct answer. Okay, let's move on. Question number 8. Brakes are used to slow down a moving car. Into which form of energy is most kinetic energy converted as the car slows down? Remember, this is also very logical and sensible thing to think about, because as the brakes slow down, friction increases, and as the friction increases, the kinetic energy is turned into thermal energy, and thermal energy or heat energy, as you would like to call it. So C is the correct answer. Okay, question number 9. An object has a kinetic energy of 200 joules. A constant resultant force of 190 is applied in the direction of motion through a distance of 10 meters. What is the final kinetic energy of the object? Remember kinetic energy formula, which is half mv squared. And remember the work done formula, which is force times the distance that is in which the direction of the force is moved by. Okay, so the force here is 190. The distance here is 10 meters. So we multiply by 10, so the work done would be 1900 joules, and there is a kinetic energy of 200 originally. So we have to add this work done plus the kinetic energy. So this is 2100 joules. Therefore D is the correct answer. Question number 10. The statement describes what happens when the power of a machine is increased. Remember, a power is basically a change in energy over time. So the work done in a given time decreases. This is absolutely false. The work done in a given time would increase because the power of a machine is increased. The time taken to do a quantity of work decreases. This is correct, because as the power increases, the time taken to do stuff decreases. Therefore 2 and 3 is correct, and therefore C is the correct answer. Question number 11. Okay, for this question, the manometers and barometers are not part of the 2023 syllabus anymore, so we can skip this entirely, and you don't have to learn about this topic. Okay. Question number 12. A fixed mass of gas is trapped in a container. The temperature of the gas is increased, but the volume of gas is kept constant. How does this change the average kinetic energy of the molecules and the pressure on the walls of the container? Well, the temperature of the gas is increased. If the temperature increases, the kinetic energy will also increase. However, if the temperature also increase, the pressure is also going to increase. And therefore, A is the correct answer. Question 13. Which rules correctly describe boiling and evaporation of water? Remember, boiling only takes place throughout the liquid. Meanwhile, evaporation takes place at the surface of the liquid. In boiling, there are bubbles that are seen, but in evaporation, bubbles are not seen, and it only occurs at the surface. So A is the correct answer. Question 14. The diagram shows a liquid in glass thermometer. Which change increases the sensitivity of the thermometer? Remember, there are three factors in which controls the sensitivity of the thermometer, and it is a narrower capillary tube, it is a narrow or thin tube, the capillary tube, and next is you have to add a thicker bulb, and next is the more liquid it contains, the more sensitive it gets, and therefore the narrower capillary tube would be the correct. Okay, question 15. The diagram shows a liquid in glass thermometer with a uniform capillary tube. Which temperature is indicated by the thermometer? Okay. For this question, what you have to do is look at the lower fixed point and the upper fixed point, and you can see that they have given you various number of information, but you want to only know the height from 0 to this part. You just want to know this part, which is the 64 millimeters. So 64 millimeters, we can write it at top, and then we can write it over 88, and then we can multiply it by 10. Okay, let me calculate that real quick. So 64 is going to be over 88, and this is going to be times 10. Okay, so here you have to know is that this is not going to be 88, because here you only have to look at the upper fixed point and the lower fixed point, which is 0 and 100. So you only have to know the total, which is this one, so which is 88 minus 8, and this will give us 80 millimeters. And so 64 is going to be over 80, and this is going to be times by 100, because there is 0 to 100. We want to know the answer. So 64 divided by 80 multiplies 100. This will give us 80 degrees Celsius. So B is the correct answer. Question 16. 4 thermometers with their bulbs painted different colors are placed at equal distances from a radiant heater. Which thermometer shows the lowest temperature rise when the heater is first switched on? So the temperature rise is highly dependent on color and texture. So let me tell you something. White, black, shiny, dull. Okay, as you might have known, white is a very good absorber. White and shiny materials are very good absorber of very good reflector of heat, while black and dull are very good absorber of heat. And therefore, which one shows the lowest temperature rise? So we want a poor absorber but a good reflector of heat, and this would be the white color, but it should be shiny as well, and therefore D is the correct answer. Question 17. A wave source produces 3,000 crests every minute. The wave has a speed of 300 meters per second. What is the wavelength of the wave? Well, I use the formula V is equal to F lambda. So rearrange the equation. And the speed here is 300 meters per second. Now, meters per second. And this is the frequency is given in per minute. So we have to change that 3,000 into, we have to divide by 60 to change it into seconds. Now this will give us 50. So 300 divided by 50, it is going to be 6 meters. Therefore, C is the correct answer. Question 18. The diagram shows two sets of wavefront in a ripple tank. A student makes two statements about the wave. Which statements are correct? Okay, let's look at statement 1. When the waves reflect from the barrier, the direction changes. True. But the wavelength remains the same. This is correct. For statement 2, when the waves reflect as they enter the shallow water, the direction remains the same, but the wavelength changes. This is absolutely wrong. That is partly correct, but not right as well, because the direction will not remain the same as it is being refracted, remember? And so it could change direction, as in like this, it could change direction like that. And therefore, you have to know that the direction will also change, the wavelength also will change because it is in shallow water. And therefore statement 1 is the only correct answer, so B is the correct answer. Question number 19. A composite block is made by joining together 3 transparent materials. The diagram shows a ray of light passing through the composite block. Which list gives 3 metals in order of the speed of light from materials from slowest to fastest? So here I would like to draw an imaginary line for each material. And you can see that, remember, the more dense it is, if it's from less dense to more dense, the light ray is going to bend towards the normal. If it's to more dense to less dense, the light ray is going to bend away from the normal, and therefore the speed also increases. However, when it is in more dense medium, the speed decreases. So you can see that if the light rays bend towards the normal, the speed is the slowest. If the light bend away from the normal, the furthest away from the normal, then its speed is the fastest. And then if the speed is if it bends moderately, then this is the middle speed, which is neither very fast or neither very slow. This is the middle speed. So we can say that it's going to be from slowest to fastest is going to be 2, 1, and 3. So C is the correct answer. Question 20. An object is placed 30 centimeters in front of a plane mirror. Which statements describe the image of the object? Okay, the image is the same size. Okay, it is the same size, that is correct. And it is actually not 30 centimeters, but actually 60 centimeters, because it says from the object. Remember to read the question carefully. It says from the object, which means it is not like the usual from the mirror. So this object is 30 centimeters away from the mirror, but inside the mirror, it is going to be the same size, but it's going to be 60 centimeter, or twice the distance from the object. Remember, from the object. But if they say from the mirror, it's going to be 30. If they say from the object, then it's going to be 60, or twice the distance. And therefore B is the correct answer. 21. A ray of light is shown into a surface of a mirror. 2 angles represent the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection. Remember, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection are always equal. Okay, and this is, we can see what type of reflection this is. This is a regular reflection. It is not a diffuse reflection, because it is on a plain, smooth surface. So remember, towards the medium, towards the normal, it is the incident ray. And then if it's bent away from the normal, or is near the normal, it is the reflected ray. So 2 and 3 are the correct answer. Question 22. The speed of sound in air is 330 meters per second. How do the speed of sound in concrete and water compare with this speed? Okay, the speed of concrete is going to be faster than air, because, as you know, the molecules in that solid is close together, so the vibrations travel faster, and therefore it is going to be greater than air. The speed of water is also going to be greater than air because it says to compare it, and therefore it is also greater, so A is the correct answer. Question 23. What is the speed of microwaves in air? Remember, in air or in a vacuum, all electromagnetic, all EM waves travel at the same speed of 3 multiplied 10 to the power 8 meters per second. Sometimes they would like to say it in 3 multiplied in kilometers per second, but you should also know that because it is 3 multiplied 10 to the power 5 kilometers per second. It's just a matter of converted units, and therefore C is the correct answer. Question 24. An observer stands at the finish line of 100-meter race. He wants to time the winner's run. He starts to stop his stopwatch as soon as he sees the smoke from the starting gun instead of when he hears the bang. What is the reason for this? This is because light travels much faster than sound. So 24A is the correct answer. 25, which is not a method for magnetizing an iron bar. So let's look at option A. Place the bar next to a magnet and hammer it. This is a method of magnetizing an iron bar because it makes the domains of the magnet to be in one position to be uniform, and therefore this is a magnetizing way. It says not a method of magnetizing, so it has to be demagnetizing. So we will place this bar in the alternating current in the coil and reduce the current. This is also this is not a way, this is demagnetizing, and therefore this is the correct answer. So B is the correct answer. 26. The diagram shows a circuit containing a variable resistor connected to a variable power supply. The table shows the current for different values of potential difference and resistance. What is the order of the currents from smallest to largest? Remember, for this, they are just letting you, it's very clerical work, as my teacher would like to call it, because you just have to remember the formula, which is resistance is equal to voltage over current. And so you just have to work out, and then you just have to rearrange the formula to current, which is V over R, and you just have to find for each one of them and compare them and put them in order to smallest to largest. And I must say this question is really boring. It's not challenging at all. I have done the math for you, so this is I1 is going to equal to 0.3, I2 is going to equal to 0.6, 0.1 I mean, 2.1, and I3 is going to equal to 0.6. So smallest to largest is going to be I2 first, I1 and I3, and therefore C is the correct answer. Question 27. Which diagram shows the electric field pattern around a positive charge? Remember, C and D are not possible instantaneously because these are not magnetic field. These are used to represent magnetic field, and they are asking you the electric field, not magnetic field. Now for the positive one, it looks something like this. Therefore, A is the correct answer. It is always going outwards, while the negative one is going inwards. Remember that. You have to learn these diagrams as well. Question 28. A negatively charged plastic rock P is placed above a positively charged plastic rod Q. What are the directions of the electrostatic force on P and Q? Remember that positive charge always goes positive to negative, so it's going to go upwards. And so the electrostatic force on rod P is going to be the electrostatic force on rod Q is going to be upwards, but the electrostatic force on rod P is going to be downwards because they both are going to attract to each other, and therefore B is the correct answer. Question 29. A lamp rated 12 volt 2 amperes is switched on for 1 minute. How much energy is transferred by the lamp? Okay, this is also one of the questions that requires you to learn the formula by heart. And this is the energy transfer, which is E is equal to IVT. Oh, oops, what did I do? Sorry. I'm sorry. E is equal to IVT. And this is the formula from this formula is derived from power is equal to change in energy over time, and so energy is over power times time. And because power is equal to, remember, electrical power is equal to IV, thus therefore E is equal to IVT. That is how we derive our formula. Now basically just follow this formula. The current is 2, voltage is 12, the time is 1 minute. Remember to change it to seconds, which is 60 seconds. And then this will give us the answer of 1440 joules. Therefore D is the correct answer. 30. An alternating current power supply is connected in series with a resistor R and a diode. Which graph shows the voltage across the resistor R varies with time? Remember, this is positive to negative. It's going to be positive to negative. Okay, so this is what we know as a forward bias. And therefore the AC current is being changed into a DC current or one-way current. This is we need to find the voltage time graph for this. The A option is automatically wrong because it is an AC current. It's going up and down. It is continuously changing. The B is a DC current. And D is also a DC current. C is also a DC current. But then it is going from here to here, here to here. And therefore the voltage is going to go like this. Therefore C is the correct answer. 31. A student makes 4 resistors using different pieces of wire. The wire have different diameters and length. All pieces of wire have made of the same material. Which piece of wire will make the resistor with the largest resistance? Remember, resistance is directly proportional to length. Resistance is inversely proportional to area, or resistance is directly proportional to diameter square. And so the larger the diameter, the less the resistance. It says larger resistance. So the lower the diameter, the larger the resistance. The longer the length, the larger the resistance. So the length has to be 17. The diameter has to be 2. So D is the correct answer. Question 32. Which diagram shows a circuit containing a battery, fuse, and a buzzer? Okay, remember this is a question that is testing on your knowledge of the circuit symbols. How well you know the circuit symbols. Now remember, a battery looks like this. A fuse looks like this. A buzzer looks like this. I'm sorry. A buzzer will look like this. The one that is opposite to the buzzer is actually called a bell. This is a bell. This is a buzzer. And therefore we have a buzzer, fuse, and battery. So D is the correct answer. Question 33. Okay, this question is about logic gates. We can skip this whole question because logic gates are not part of the 2023 to 2025 syllabus. It is completely removed. Instead, space physics is added as a result. So this year you might encounter some space physics multiple choice questions. Okay, 34. The diagram represents a transformer. Which row shows the material suitable for making the core and primary coil? For the core, we need a magnetic material, but we don't want it to be permanent. We want it to be temporary. And therefore we have to use something called iron, material called iron. Okay, and the primary coil, however, we cannot use plastic. We have to use copper because of course you are adding, this is a power supply and you have to give electricity to it. And so copper is the conductor of electricity while plastic is not. And therefore E is the correct answer. 35. The diagram shows the magnetic field line around a wire carrying a current. Which diagrams are correct? For this one, you have to use your right hand grip rule. There are 2 right hand rules. One is the right hand grip rule. The other one is called the right hand rule. This is for right hand rule is for the the AC motor or the dynamo or the generator. It is for generators. But for the right hand grip rule, it is for determining the direction of the magnetic field and the direction of the North Pole. So the thumb points up. The thumb points the North Pole, and so you have to figure out the direction, whether it's clockwise or anti-clockwise. Well, I have done it ahead, and so the correct one here is 1 and 3. 1 and 3. So D is the correct answer. 36. Which statement about electromagnetic induction is correct? Okay. So the induced. Okay, let's look at this one by one. The conductor moving parallel to the magnetic fields induce an EMF in the conductor. This is wrong, because you never put something that is parallel to the magnetic field, therefore no EMF is going to be induced. That's a good option B. The direction of the induced electromotive force opposes the change which produces it. Now this is very true. This is known as Lenz's law. And because the direction of the EMF always will oppose the change which produces it. And so B is the correct answer. 37. A very important experiment increased scientists' understanding of the structure of matter. In the experiment, particles were scattered as they passed through a thin metal foil. This is typically a gold foil, and this experiment is called the Geiger-Morstan experiment. So which particles were used? They used alpha particles because they had a positive charge. And then the conclusion of this experiment, led by Rutherford, is that the atom is made up of a nucleus that is a tiny nucleus in the center, and most of the matter in the atoms is empty space, and therefore B is the correct answer. 37. Polonium has a proton number equal to 84, a nucleon number equal to 218. Polonium changes to astatine by emitting a beta particle. Which equations represent this decay? Remember, a beta particle is basically a neutron that is so excited that it splits into two parts. It splits into a proton and an electron, and therefore the proton number is going to increase, but the mass number will still be the same because the neutron goes out, the protons also goes in. So this means there's like no overall change in the mass number. Remember, mass number is protons plus neutrons. One of the neutrons go out, one of the protons go in, so there is no change in mass number. So we have to find it. Polonium, okay, the right way to write this is that the proton number is always at the bottom. This is the proton number, and the number above is the mass number or the nucleon number, and the X is represented as an element. Okay, so it's going to be either C or D, but D is not possible because the beta particle is going to get emitted, so it's going to be C. And let's check more. The astatine is 85 because, as I said, the neutron splits into a proton, and therefore one proton is increased. 84 into 85. The mass number 218 doesn't change, so C is the correct answer. 39. The graph shows the count rate from a radioisotope changes with time. What is the half-life of this isotope? Okay, for the half-life of this isotope, this is, you just have to look at the graph. Okay, the half-life is basically the time taken for the count rate to fall to half the count rate, basically. So here we can see that this is around 53 counts per second, and so this 53 we have to divide it by 2 to find the half-life, which is if we divide by 2, it's going to turn into 26.5, and so 26.5, let's find it. it is somewhere here. And so 26.5, we go straight through, draw it through, and it is going to be going down, so it is 2 seconds, and therefore it is the correct answer. Question 40. What is the nature of an alpha emission? Remember, an alpha emission is all the same as a helium nucleus. Helium nucleus, why do I say this? Because the alpha is represented as 4, 2, and the helium nucleus is also represented as 2, 4. And this is because they are both positively charged particles, and therefore C is the correct answer. Okay, we have reached the end of the video and end of the questions. If you have any questions or doubts, please drop them at the comment below. I really hope you understand every single thing that I tried to explain today. So good luck on your exam, guys. For physics, it's coming up in 2 days, I think. Yes, so good luck, and try to read the questions carefully, and because that is really important, guys. And then think with a clear mind. Okay, until next time, see you in the next video.